So doctors are always telling us that in order to be healthy, we need to stop eating processed foods, so things that are heavy in preservatives and sugar and salt and things like that. And we need to get back to more natural foods like salads, veg as it is grown naturally. And I know intensively farmed vegetables are a long way from the way they would be in the wild, but the closest we can get is a decent kind of cucumber or orange or, nice raw unprocessed food is supposed to be healthy for you. But the problem is, what we consume is not just the food we eat. We're also part of this system that we call modern civilization that is highly processed, and we're being processed along with it. So, the whole idea of Monday to Friday, there are no days and weeks and months and years occurring naturally. This is all made up by people. It's a process. And, we work in big cities or towns. These are not natural places. This is not the jungle anymore. This is not the forest or the plains or the wilderness. We're living in man-made systems. And the same goes for our working lives. We get up, we go to the office, we have pressure from our bosses, our clients, our work colleagues, whoever it may be. And this is not a natural place to be. We're not naturally supposed to sit at a desk tapping away at the keyboard like battery hens pecking away at seed every day. We're not supposed to be driving vans or buses or lorries 8 hours a day. We're not supposed to be working machinery, going to steel mills and working in these kind of extremely highly processed environments that are a long way from where we'd be living naturally. If we were still living in the trees, in the woods, in nature, we'd be very different people. We'd be much slimmer, we'd be getting much more exercise. All, ironically, the things that doctors recommend to us. And what happens is that, we're living these processed environments, processed lives, and we end up with illnesses. So, like we said, if you eat a lot of the bad food, you get diabetes, obesity, cancer, illnesses, you get immune deficiencies. If we don't eat enough fruit and veg, we get colds and we get flu and things like this. And the same is true for us mentally, as well as it is physically. We get anxiety, we get depression, we get kind of personality disorders and things like this. We're trying to fit ourselves in. We are these shapeless, formless beings, and we're trying to fit ourselves into square holes and things like this. So the aim of the game is to be as close to nature as possible, and it's no coincidence that doctors will often say for treating stress and anxiety and things like this, get out to nature, go for a walk in the woods, things like this, because it's what we're naturally supposed to be doing. And it's also true for us as well. When you live your life in a way that is not natural for you who you are, then you start to get results that are not intended for you. You end up in a place where you didn't think you'd ever end up, and this can be quite an unhappy place. You kind of think, why am I here? Why can't I get unstuck? Why am I so anxious? Why am I so fed up all the time? Why am I so dissatisfied with my life? And the chances are it's probably not our life. And I know I go on about it all the time, all this idea about looking for approval and validation and permission and guidance from other people. But the problem is, just like living in the cities and just like having lost track of our true nature, we've lost track of what is natural for us. Our intrinsic selves have become buried underneath all this kind of guidelines about what life should be like. Go to school, go to college, get a degree, get married, buy a house, have children, work until you're 60, 70 or 80, and then live out a couple of years at the end of your life, in a retirement home somewhere. This is not natural. And because of this, because we've lost sense of what our own identity is and where our true path is, we end up going off on the wrong path, a path that was designed for us by people. The first people who started this whole thing, they lived hundreds of years ago. Their lives are very different to ours, and yet we're still treading the same paths that they trod when they set up the education system, because they needed people to work in the factories. And everything we're taught is to make us, not to make us individual people, but to make us good members of society. Society being this system that we live in. So we're literally being shaped and crafted to be food for the system, if you like, to keep things ticking over and that kind of thing. So what we need to do is find out who we are, because we're seeking guidance from people who haven't lived our lives. We're seeking permission from people who don't have our values. We're seeking validation from other people who don't know what we're going through. And we've lost sense of our own compass, our own internal compass. So the aim of the game is to get back to where we should be going and follow our own North Star. Now, not easy, but there are lots of things you can do. One of the things that I did was start on a course of meditation that I try and keep it up 5 days a week if I can. And what that does, it just helps me to slow things down and separate myself from my thoughts and all the kind of things I'm doing or not doing. For example, doing videos like this, I kind of think, oh God, I don't want to do another video. What will people think? And then I suddenly realise, well, I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it for me, because I'm facing my fear. I'm getting my thoughts out. This is kind of like therapy for me, if you like. And hundreds of years ago, we didn't need therapy because we were living our own authentic, intrinsic lives. And so that's what it's about. You have to find our own intrinsic selves, who we are, because then we start living the lives according to our own compass. We forge our own path, and as a result of that, we get results that were intended for us, much better results than we would get if we followed someone else's path, or did things for likes, or did things for validation and approval and things like that, which are basically living according to other people. So here's the thing, we need to figure out how to do it. And I'm trying to figure that out at the moment. So there's meditation, there are practices like gratitude and journaling, and self-awareness is really key to this. And I'm thinking about putting together a little free course, just maybe an email course or a series of videos to help people step by step tackle that kind of raging internal dialogue, step away from it and take the first steps to building a life that is intrinsically theirs. I'm not saying this is going to make anyone millionaires or anything like that, but it's going to help people hopefully live a more authentic life. So would you be interested in something like that? I think it's something that would have helped me a while ago, and in the process of creating it, I'm thinking it might help me get my own thoughts together and kind of solidify and clarify what my message is, because I seem to have a lot of messages that are all interconnected somewhere. This whole idea of life is beautiful if you know how to look at it, and changing your perspective changes your world, and things like this, and they're all interconnected. And ultimately, the aim of the game is to live a life and to get the results that were meant for you. And you can't do that when you're living, for validation of from other people, for permission, for, guidance, all this kind of stuff. So it's about building confidence, learning to love ourselves, and finding our own true path. So let me know if that's something that's interesting for you, and if you'd be interested in signing up for, just get an email, maybe one a day for 30 days or something like that, and little hints and tips, maybe a few videos thrown in there as well, that you can use, practical things that you can use to find out who you are, ignite the fire that's in here, and live your own life. All right, get in touch with me. I'm not hard to find, and just let me know if this is something that would be of interest to you, and I'll start putting something together. All right, cheers.